Good evening, Annihilation Nation. Welcome back. We got a fun game for y'all, or a fun match, I should say, for y'all today. We've got Odyssey Ares versus Baja Blast Esports. This is Tier 4 Losers Round 1. My name is Pillow. I'm joined today by Alex. Say hello.
Howdy, howdy.
And of course, we have Space on the uh, production. So everybody say thank you, Space.
Thank you, Space.
Thank you, Space. All right. So I'll bring it over to Alex to go over the bracket for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, bracket on the screen here, seeing how these two teams got into the losers semifinals. Of course, Fable Soul taking Ares 3-0 in the first round. Folded, of course, then going Baja Blast in the loser semifinals. So, that being said, let's take a look at these two teams. We're going to start out with Ares. I'm going to let Pello take that away.
Right. So you'll see a couple notable things here. Dixie on the Diva. You see a lot of really interesting stuff. Diva hasn't been that great in the current meta. A lot more brawly with Sigmas and Malgas. So it's interesting to see that. I don't expect to see the Diva today, but you never know. Uh, Also, we see the DPS line double hit scan. That could just be a favorite pick. We don't fully know what they're going with comp wise, but a lot of interesting stuff here. And then, Alex, if you want to cover Baja Blast.
Yeah, Baja Blast, you see Dino and Azul on a Genji and Dino on a Junkrat. I think we've seen him once or twice on the Junkrat. We've seen them cook. I know we've seen a Junkrat cook here on Annihilation. That's going to be your two DPS starting lineups for Baja Blast. Going to be Newports in the tank role, followed by Aaron and Pancake on the support for Baja.
Right. Notably, Pancake has given us permission to flame him for every Ajax if there is one. So we will be going in.
Absolutely get that Ajax counter ready, chat.
I just want to see nothing but zeros and then ones and then twos. But yeah, that's all we've got for now. We will be back shortly when the first game gets started. right, welcome back, Annihilation Nation. Sorry for that wait. We are just getting all our ducks in a row to get this match started. We are starting off with Lijiang Tower, picked by Baja Blast. And I'm going to let Alex here cover the bans for this map. What do we got, Alex?
Yeah, on the side of Odyssey Ares, we have the Sim ban coming out. Makes sense, this map and throughout Lijiang, a very strong map for Symmetra. On the side of Baja Blast Esports, we do have the Ramatra ban, also a very strong pick on this map.
Right, 100%. Also, with those new buffs from the mid-season patch, Ramatra just very strong in general. The block going to be able to keep him sustained for so much longer. We see some interesting comps coming out here. The Wu Yang Juno backline with the Mauga, with the on-run. Lots of interesting stuff coming out here. We see the Orisa comp with the Echo. Echo also very strong on this sub-map specifically.
Yeah, I'm quite interesting though. Azul on this Freya, that's a lot of pressure going into a Mauga. Someone who you really want to keep that armor topped up before they engage. The Freya here can put a lot of damage. As we see the two teams rotate to both sides, Dino going down a bit low. However, getting topped up nicely. Baja Blast taking this very back corner of this point here. A boot comes in, however, it does not get Pancake. Almost does though. In a scary situation. Newport also getting burnt down, looking for that on-run pick, does not get it. Instead, he is returned to spawn. Dino, however, finds the Lucio on the side of Ares Esports. Right now, trades in favor of Baja Blast as Griffin does go down. It's going to be a tank with a Curie Sojourn on the side of Ares as the point does flip over to their favor. Not going to see too much of an engage over here by Baja Blasters. 4 players strong, and the Mauga swap off on the horse. Good stomp by Newports. Does eventually get a burn down there. However, Verts does get Azul and Kyle in Dino. Newports, however, coming very strong on this. Does get another support here as Kyle goes down. Verts is going to take Pancake on the way out. So it's going to be Griffin versus Onyx and Newports. They're going to stomp that out. That flame dies fast as Baja gets that point flip.
Right, really solid adaptation. You can see that comp really, although the Mauga versus Orisa is in favor of the Orisa generally, with the comp itself surrounding it, the cycle that Orisa wants to go for doesn't work quite as well, so it's really good adaptation to swap over there. But that does put them at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to the cage. About 10% behind. We also see the Rush coming out earlier.
Yeah, Rush coming out. The engage right now, not finding any more targets. However, Newport down quite low. A very late Kitsune by Onyx. Dixie already finding that kill. So right now, Baja Blast down to 4, make it 3, make it 4, make it the entire team. Versus just going to close that out with an OC. Onyx ripping that. Probably not a great time.
Right, 100%. Notably, the big difference I'm seeing here is the beat difference. Daedalus only at about 67%. Pancake actually able to pop it right now. This is going to be a big advantage for them in this fight. Also with the Echo Duplicate.
Yeah, Echo Duplicate. However, Griffin's going to be back in this fight as the Lucio's back. Right now, in favor of Baja Blast as the trades are going their way. Verts does get Dino out here, so a fight worth winning here. Baja Blast get that point flip. It is 73-34 in favor of Ares.
Right, 100%. Like I said, I think that just came down to them having that beat there, able to sustain through the Mauga cage from Dixie, and then actually engage with the Echo, with their own Mauga, able to get the value that they needed.
Yeah, but now it's going to be a reverse. Yeah, but now it's going to be a reverse story here. Lucio beat on the side of Ares, doesn't have 1-2 contest or any real support all to contest here. The Suzu does come out on the side of Baja Blast. They want to engage, want to try to burn down someone. Griffin does find Dino here as the Shion does get it. Beat only good for 2 players here on the side of Ares. They're still trying to find picks. Dixie's going to go down here. However, it's a 3v3 right now. We're looking at Shion versus an on-run. Which DLC character is better right now? Griff making sure that is the on-run. As the rest of Baja Blast is going to go for that recontest. If not, as Pancake does fall.
Right, that was a really solid play there. They just unfortunately didn't have that beat. It was really difficult to try to get that out, but they didn't do too bad of a job trying to fade that out. The unfortunate problem they have here is that overclock is keeps coming out from River.
Yeah, both Kasune rips from both. However, Verts does have that OC, so a lot of damage is able to pump out. The cage thrown out by Dixie, and right now Baja Blast getting swept away by Ares. They're going to take Lijiang Night Market 100-73.
Right, really solid job there. They just needed to try and play a little bit slower, try to build those ults just a little bit more. You could see in that last fight, we had 3 players who were at about 90%. So that could be a big game changer there at the end. But still a very solid round from the side of Baja. It's definitely still a winnable game.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about that last fight, though, it was a rough situation that Baja put themselves in. They didn't have that alt bank like you mentioned. They could have built it up, but it was at that 99 mark. You know, the Malga came in, touch, basically burned all his cooldowns, and the Curie with that Suzu just to keep him alive. It was a rough ask, but let's see how they clean it up this next fight.
Right, notably the swap over to Junkrat from Dino, like we were talking about before the match started. Definitely a character they're familiar with, so definitely something they could do here.
Yeah, I actually really like the Junkrat here. This is a more confined space as we do have the control center. Junkrat could get a little more value here, but it could get a little less value, especially as it gets pinched by the rest of Baja Blast. Does get out. Verts, however, making sure the opposite side does not. Verts with 2 picks here. Newports does get Kyle here. Point unlocked. Make that 3 for Verts this opening fight. Gonna single-handedly win Ares this, as Griffin's gonna pick up Onyx on the way out.
Yeah, just a really good mechanical play there from Rivers, and that's going to put them in a pretty good advantage situation. Junkrat really good at holding those angles, but it's going to struggle to try and push into new space a little bit more, especially into those open spaces. So if you could play your positioning correctly, it's going to be harder for him to find the value he's looking for.
Yeah, and right now, ooh, Griff going for a flank, wanted to poke out a little bit on the side of Baja Blast, does get it caught by the Junkrat trap and deleted. So they're down. Azul does get the Mizuki on the side of Ares. So right now, down 2 players. It looks like Baja Blast is going to start taking this space, and Ares is going to respect that.
Right, really good spot there, especially just with the unfortunate trap going on to Griffin. That's really going to be a big play. Now we've got the tire coming up. We're somewhat close to cage. We can build it up that before Dixie, but a pick Revert's is going to flip the fight here very quickly.
Yeah, Revert's so deadly on that Sojourn. Has come alive so many times in this map alone. And so you're going to see the rest of Baja Blast without that pick. They're going to fall back a bit. Going to play for this back.
Right, I think that makes a lot of sense. We've got those ults coming out a little bit sooner other than this overclock, but we see the tire coming out.
Yeah, we see the tire coming out, but Newports goes in. Let's see how big of value this gets. It doesn't. Verts shuts the tire down. Call it AAA because there's a flat on that. Onyx, however, finding a sharp point here, getting Verts. Dino also getting a grip here. However, Dino immediately traded out by the Mizuki here. Ares still very much in control of this point right now, 60%. The Kitsune Rush out, and we're going to see Azul pop the OC and another Kitsune Rush on the side of Onyx. It's going to be a battle of who can sustain. The cage out, that's going to be mainly for protection. Beat out, only gets 2, does not get Azul before it goes. Vert's gonna pop the OC, however, does not find it. Dino finding 2 here. Here comes the on-run ult, good for taking out Pancakes. So there are a lot of ults committed to this fight. Still, both teams back and forth. The Junkrat and a Kiriko versus an on-run and a Malga. Scratch that and make it just a Malga. And right now, Baja Blast does get that point flip over. Dixie still looking for some picks here, still fighting, still contesting. This team now finally back from the respawners here. A beautiful anti-nade does go on. Cleanse forced. Onyx is without cleanse, however, you got no ults here on the side of either team. Dino gonna put POV on him, 80% towards ultimate. That's gonna be the closest one here. A lot of players through that choke. They need to get through this. If you're Ares here, Baja Blast controlling this space quite well. You see the flank on the on-run, and you see Reverts taking this angle on the side. However, the split coming in. 3 players on top of Verts and Kyle. Verts eventually gets Dino, the one with the ultimate, and a point flip comes over from Ares. So Onyx does find Griff. Verts coming back alive, finds Newports to drown it out, and it looks like Ares, after a long fight, gonna take it right now, 76-83 in favor of Baja.
Right, that was a super drawn out fight there, but did end up going the way of Ares there. The big thing we gotta watch out for is this tire, and they've also got the lane about 30% earlier. Really uncomfortable spot you want to be in.
Suzu forced, however, Kitsune Rush is out. Verts again flattening that tire before anything can really happen. 98% for it. Dino does fall off the map, I'm guessing. Pancake's found out. Azul does get Griffin. Here comes the OC fight. Azul gets the better one of this. However, most of their team dead. Baja does get the point flip, so it's not quite over from them yet. Azul with 2 on that fight. It is just the Ana and the Malga. Dino on the Tracer jumps into a cage. Pancake risking the Ajax here does get it off. Good for 3. However, the Ana does throw the anti onto the Malga, looking for that pick. The Ana does die, so Newports does find that kill. Cage also out. Dino eventually gets that bird value. Verts finding Azul here. Here comes the Kitsune Roche. Kyle. Verts, it is just Kyle versus the Kiri Lucio on the opposite side for Newports. For Baja Blast. And Baja Blast does take it. 99 Ares. Who's going to be the touch here? No one. Baja Blast is going to take that 99 to 100.
Such a close round there. We saw a couple really big plays there from Dino, from Azul especially, actually, making a lot of critical plays, especially towards the end there. That overclock coming up really big. I think the biggest thing that ended up happening there was just a bit of an uncomfortability from Ares on how to play into the Junkrat. They were trying to play into that small space to get into server room, but you can't really do that against that character. You're going to take way too much poke. You saw Dixie going into half health before he could even get into a running position. So just trying to play around the enemy comp a little bit better might be what gets them through this point.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And this map, a lot less favorite for Junkrat. We're going to see the engage here coming in the mid. But whoever gets this, and if you're Baja Blast, you want this. It helps your Junkrat set up a lot better, as this is a bit more of an open map. Azul does take a shot, however, Revert's also. Ooh, Revert's getting that one-shot combo by Dino. However, Ares is going to set up on the point here. Gonna say, come to us for Baja Blast. So Baja Blast looking very healthy, health pools. Looking very steady. Gonna force the rest of them back. Dixie trying to get that stop, does not get it. The Lucio of Ares going deep, however. Dixie eventually goes down. Looks like they fell to death, and looks like Newports wants to see if that digital water is fresh. It is not, does fall to their death. That gives the opening for Ares to come back into this point right now. Very scrappy. It's Azul versus Reverts. We're gonna put the attention to right now. A lot of resources going into Azul. Onyx does find Verts here, however, Kyle finds Azul. Kiriko on the side of Baja Blast does go down. That's going to force a regroup. Point captured by Ares.
Alright, notably both tanks getting booped off the map by one of the enemy players around that tower. Just trying to figure out what's going on there. We saw Dixie just getting poked out a little too hard, trying to play the back of the point instead of just giving up the space. Had to try and walk out as he had already used his run, used his E. Didn't have any way to stop himself from getting booped by a Junkrat there.
Yeah, but you want to talk about an unfortunate turn of events. Newports gets poked out. Onyx forced to use that Suzu. However, nothing's going to allow them to really go onto it. This is the angle they want to play. This one enables Dino to use that Junkrat to spam down the center. Here comes a very short Kitsune Rush, a bit better on the opposite side for Baja Blast. The OC is popped by Azul and popped by Verts. On run, gonna use the revive part of her kit, so it's gonna be Dino looking for the kill. However, this fight already favoring Odyssey right now. Just a Junkrat battle. Reverts does get pancakes. The rest of Baja Blast gonna go for the regroup right now. It's 63%. Ares on top.
Right, critical plays there. We saw the two teams trade out, and Newport just getting a little too eager, running into the entire enemy team, taking a lot of poke there. Again, the biggest thing in these mountain here is going to be the poke and the walk in. Who's going to have that armor? Who's going to have to use their use? Who's going to be able to get that value without getting pressured out too soon?
Yeah, I mean, I get why they wanted to go first. You know, a beautiful pick by Onyx and by Azul does put them up. It's 91%, but Newport's just jumping off the map. That's going to go in their low light reel. But talking about which, here they come for a touch. A beautiful delay here. Cage does not prevent it. Junkrat is going to get the foot. Touch. Dino going to pop it. Lucio down on the side of Ares. Reverts down on the side of Ares. So this fight that was looking kind of rough for Baja Blast to come alive. Griffin Does find it, but eventually he is found out by a trap. So Baja Blast ripping the...
Right, that was a really solid counterattack there. Both teams using that cage, using that beat, critically that tire, finding the Lucio Daedalus. Just somewhat pretty stink ult play. Notably, Dino taking that far side angle, making the tire a little more ambiguous. Really solid job there. We gotta wonder what we're trying to look for in this next fight. Rivers is gonna have that overclock. We don't really have anything to match. We gotta try and build it to the Kitsune.
Yeah, I would say pay attention to the Kitsunes right now. Of course, Dino is gonna be Azul going down very low. Here comes the OC on the side. Burst does get it, however, not before Onyx does get there out. Griffin finds Azul, and the rest of Baja is falling one by one as the entire team is wiped out. OT gonna be flipped, but I'm doubtful a touch is gonna come in, so it's gonna be 100-47 as Ares is gonna take Lijon.
Right, that was a really solid map for both teams. I think the biggest thing there was just, again, the poke in the pre-fight. Whoever was taking that poke too soon, playing in the spaces they shouldn't be, or maybe just pushing a little too aggressive with a hard engage when they shouldn't, really just ended up taking the brunt of the losses there. The second thing I think was biggest was the ult economy from the side of Baja. They invested a lot more into the fight wins that they were getting instead of just trying to squeeze out as much as they could from what they were using. We saw quite a few fight wins from the side of Ares where they maybe just had Reverts pop the overclock early and then match Kitsu. And that was all they did. They had other stuff there, but they just tried to conservatively play so that way in the next fight they could still have that ult and still be able to keep that pressure. So I think that was a really solid job there from Ares. Let's see what Baja Blast can counteract with in this next map right after this break. All right, welcome back, Annihilation Nation. We are back with Game 2 on Neon Junction. Uh, Quick note, if you are on the map screen, you will see that there is Kings Row, not Neon Junction. We just simply do not have the map icon profile yet in our dashboard, so we're working on that. But regardless, Neon Junction with Odyssey Ares starting on attack. Do you want to bring us to the bans, Alex?
Yeah, bans are as followed. You got Ares banning out this Lucio, and on the side of Baja Blast, we're gonna see the ban of the Mauga.
Right, pretty interesting bans here. I think they make a lot of sense based off of the last map. The Mauga, Newports maybe finding that he was struggling a little bit on it. And the Lucio as well. Also just a specialty character for Pancake. So I think that makes a lot of sense here as well, especially based off of the comp that we see from the side of Ares, just not really planning to play that, it looks like.
Speaking of which, we have a Reinhardt in this into the Zarya of Lobster. Lobster getting a rude awakening as a big rectangle is thrown in their face. We do have a double sniper composition on the side of Ares here. Gonna scratch that. Griff gonna go back over to the Sojourn as Verts stick on to this Hanzo. So good one-shot potential is here, especially onto that backline, and the pressure is good as well, eventually falling short here. So Baja Blast right now, opening for them. Lobster finding solo area here, and eventually Newport's going down. Vert's finding two with one cooldown on that storm error, and Lobster's gonna clean up the rest. That's gonna be a 0.1 over by Baja Ares.
Right, really solid job there from the side of Ares, really just focusing on breaking down that bunker, taking those angles, because there's a lot of ways you can look at that small room, especially if they're just going to choose to sit in there. You can take a lot of space, you can take the stairs from the side of the coin, you can take a lot of areas there, and that really allows you to just open them up and break them down.
Yeah, and I want to talk about Baja's setup right now. You're running a Reinhardt, no speed, you know, Neon Junction known for a bit longer angles here. Mizuki going for just some percentage on these healing resource here. But this is going to make the Reinhardt infinitely harder to run, especially even the Reaper. You know, you want to get kind of closer here, and you see that as the duel goes down, Ares is going to force the tempo here, but Lobster hasn't to fall back only because of that Bastion. Grab good for only one onto Newport's grab dragon. You haven't seen that in quite some time. Old heads rise up there. However, the cleanup kills are here. Pancake eventually does go down. So Ares gonna start setting up really close to the end of second point.
Right, this is one of the big advantages the attackers have on this second point. This first choke right here to get back out is kind of difficult to break through if you get the opportunity to hold it. We see Newport beginning to make his way out, but there's too many angles. Getting poked out, has to back away, going in super low HP.
Yeah, both Mizuki traded out one early. A huge shatter gets three, and considering rush pop by Kyle not going to be used as the hammer shuts that down.
What a massive play there from Newport's. Absolutely had to get that size of a shatter to make that play work. So really solid job there. Otherwise, that was probably a lost team fight. Now we see the supports coming alive. Really solid position here from the side of Baja Blast.
Yeah, and without that Kitsune rush on the side of Ares, you know, you don't have to use that second support ult. You can try to win it with just one. We see Griffin ripping the OC, trying to find any picks onto those squishies. However, Pancake throws up the Sanctuary. That's going to prevent a lot of damage from coming in. Going to stop that attack from Ares. However, the Zarya for Lobster. Really high charge. Very dangerous here. Here comes the Kitsune Rush. So you'll use both support ults. Haven't won this fight. A beautiful kite out by Ares. And right now, the ultimates going back in the favor of Ares Esports. The Sanctuary thrown out. Burtz finds two headshot kills here. Lobster finding another one. The Dragon thrown out, so it is Lobster and Reverts coming up big for Ares.
really solid job there from the side of Ares. They were playing in a way where they could just bait out their ultimates, and Baja Blast kind of just trying to engage with it, not really ready to press that far into the enemy team.
Yeah,
they
grab
really tried to be so aggressive with that. Zari still has no charge.
You're absolutely right about that. Wasting both support ults, and now Reverts finding a scatter shot via the perk onto Azul does force him down. However, a beautiful chain does lock down the Mizuki on the side of Odyssey, so they're going to be without that. Lobster going to be forced back as the Bastion does burn through the bubble. Here comes the artillery formed from Solaire. Was good for that Mizuki last time, however, not going to be able to find anything here quite yet. The cart's still making some good progress. As we're on to the Kabuki Theater, Newport's going to step up forward. Shield almost gone, however, Shatter in hand, looking for it. Here comes the Kitsune Rush, followed by a Dragon and a Bolo shot. Lobster eventually does get Newport's and Pancakes before anything can really go through. Lobster fighting another onto Azul here. So right now, Baja Esports kind of falling apart here.
Right, you need to find something. You need a hero here that's gonna have to be Newports with this Shatter.
Yeah, did it once before, and here comes the contest. Solaire, however, coming up big, gonna get find the burst. Lobster fighting Pancake, so right now down to support Baja Blast is the grab. Good for two, always hits Newports. Trying to find Solaire, they do get them. Lobster, big. Here comes the Kitsune Rush on the side of Baja Esports. Shatter, good for two, has this won the fight for Baja. The kills coming in, Kyle going down the charge, and the Newport's looking to swing the hammer, looking to get any more, does get one, does get the second, so that's going to be three for Newport's coming alive in this fight for Baja.
That's exactly what we needed to see there. That's going to be a big win, especially for the Ulticon. We got the Mizuki coming up, we got the Blizzard coming up too. That could be a big shutdown, or especially for something like this Overclock, put it into the space that we could be in.
Yeah, but right now, all eyes on Griffin. They're going to be the first one with the ultimate on the board. Has that OC locked, loaded. The Mizuki on the side of Ares needs to stay alive. Azul on that. Here comes the OC. Pancake throws up the Sanctuary. Newports does find the Mizuki on the side of Ares. They needed to stay alive. Revert's getting killed by Onyx here on the Kiriko. And so that's once again Baja throwing up a wall, both metaphorically and physically.
This is super clean play on this third point here from the side of Baja. They did get, unfortunately, really steamrolled on that second point, so there's still a lot of time on the clock for Ares, but this has been a super solid showing here. Really just letting them push into them and then playing second super well, super solidly.
Yeah, right now, trying to burn down Lobster. The main wall effectively kited it around. So Baja is going to go into this choke. It's going to hold here for just a second. Trying to build up some ultimates. They do have the Blizzard. They do have the Shatter coming up. And it looks like the Shatter, no good. Kitsune was popped as well. The Dragons grab. Good for two. Kyle gonna find Azul here. Here comes the Blizzard in a last-ditch attempt. Does not get anything, as a few players dancing around inside of it. Team kill over by the side of Ares. However, these touches still can come out, and they still have some ultimates. You know, you have that Venture here coming up on that excavation. Here comes the Sanctuary on the side of Ares. And the Kitsune Rush on the side of Onyx. Pancake over to the Cat. An interesting choice. Newport needs any help. Does not get it. Burks burn him down with a storm of airs. Here comes the excavation. Onyx. Pancake finding two here. It is a 2v3 right now. Looks like Solaire might go down next. Azul still here. Still fighting. Does not get the help they need. However, Baja force it to OT as Ares pushes it into third.
As you know, that's a very important thing to get that OT. That basically confirms that as long as they finish the map, they are still in this game. Super critical thing there, making it so that they end with no time. Solaire, or Azul, I should say, doing a super solid job there right at the end, stalling as long as possible, getting the Hanzo pick as well, really coming close to swinging that fight.
Yeah, that last fight, absolute dog fight. The ultimate could have come online for that excavation. Did get a bunch of damage down. That's what allowed them to get assist. It almost clawed for them not to get pushed into third.
Right, 100%. We saw a lot of interesting decisions there. Now we're seeing some interesting ones on the side of Baja's attack. We're seeing notably the possible sim from the side of Griffin, instead choosing to go over to the Venture. Venture being buffed in this midseason patch, that melee getting a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. Just going to be a little bit more consistent, deal a little more DPS.
Yeah, but talking about this...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to talk about the support lines, however. We see a big switch up here. Onyx is still on that Kiriko, however, we do have the Wu Yang on the side of Baja Blast, and finally we get some speed in this map on the side of Ares getting a Juno ring. So these composition on the side, at least Ares, speed up just a bit more. Talking of which, you're going to see this Zarya Reaper here on the side of Baja. They're going to look to try to front the damage on the Lobster here. Going to throw a lot of resources into that Reaper, including that bubble. You already see some high charge. Right now, Baja Blast going to need some resources here. They're going to try to take over this this comic shop. Plus Griffin on that does get out. It's going to be forced a bit more. Newports, however, does go into that backline, does find one. Solaire finds another one here. So Baja looking strong right now. Azul hunting down this backline, hunting down the Juno. However, this backline got teeth. However, not before Lobster does find their way back into spawn thanks to Pancake, and Onyx is going to clean this up. So Baja getting their foot in the door.
Right, this comp's super solid at playing around the bubble cycles from the Zarya. Reaper doing just such a good combination with it, able to use that rage to get out so consistently, so that no matter what you do, even if you break that bubble, he's still gonna live. We still get what we want from the charge. And then Zarya able to use those bubbles a little more greedy in that second rotation, which is where she really shines in the mid fight.
Yeah, we have a similar thing going on the side of Ares, but now it's going to be the Bastion. But speaking of which, we do have an early pickoff fight as Verts does find Azul sleeking around as the Reaper early in that fight, so that's going to allow Ares to step up forward. Here comes the Kitsune Rush on the side of Baja Blast. Kitsune Rush already used. We're going to go over to the POV of Verts, try to find any more on that high noon. Does not find it. The Kitsune Rush on the opposite side popped. Both teams not going to be able to take full advantage of this as they were beautifully kited out. Griffin, however, getting forced by this Reaper and by the... Ooh, grab out. Good for 3 here. The Suzu, really good. Keeps their teams alive. However, the rest of Ares already going down before that. So Baja, with one ultimate, is going to start opening this map up.
Right, that's a really big ultimate to use. Grab, notably, just such a powerful ultimate. Especially with the potential Reaper ult, with the potential Juno ult, could absolutely sweep the team fight. We're gonna have to figure out what to do about that from the side of Ares here. Lobster at 96% right now.
Yeah, Lobster's looking for a grab, looking for anything. They do have that in their back pocket. Here comes the OC. They're gonna throw it on to the Suzu. However, Azul finds Lobster before any more damage comes. The artillery form shut down by the Reaper. Soul area with that. OC does find one. Pancake says they want to get involved in this fight as well. Does get Kyle. And Baja Blast gonna push this in to second. Going for third. Only with 5 minutes left on this time bank.
Right, this is a really solid job. That second point, super difficult to defend. Like we talked about, super easy to get a good hold up on the second half of that point. But we've got to see something with this Reaper over here. That's going to be our main takeaway. Or we can follow to a Kitsune. Those are going to be our 2 win conditions on the side of Baja.
Yeah, you see Azul right now taking this sort of high ground here, looking over the choke, eventually forced out by Griffin and Kyle, but a lot of resources had to throw to secure that. Here comes the Ray over by Ares, trying to force the issue here. However, Azul gonna go deep into the backline, gonna find one, gonna find the Juno here. Verts does find Newports, however. Lobster or farmed away from Verts as a lot of pressure comes there. Kyle, however, does get Azul. So right now, still a scrappy fight. You see the Reaper trying to get Onyx. Eventually does allow the alley-oop by Griffin. So Ares do get a strong hold there, but at the cost of a Juno.
100%. We see a couple swaps here from the side of Ares. We see the Roadhog from Lobster and the bad one there was definitely going to be a more unique comp than what they were playing before. Going to be a bit more of just an angle check, positioning check. Are you aware of where the hog is at? You need to be aware. You need to have those cooldowns ready in case he swings you with that hook.
Yeah, and with the wrestling angles taken quite prominently by Ares, you see the Reaper Kiriko hold up into the left side of this opening and the Bastion on high ground. So a lot of angles to really check here.
100%. This third point is a very scrappy in general area. We see Reavers hiding with the Death Blossom ready, getting caught out.
And Kitsune rushed straight through the center of this point. Burks, however, going to throw that Death Blossom. Does not get it. Lobster, however, finding Oxy and Kyle going to throw out their Kitsune rush for Ares here. Lobster trying to make full advantage of it. However, damage not on their side right now. You see Azul going deep. However, a controlled focused fire does put them down. Newport's eventually also falling. So Baja Blast does fall a bit short as Lobster's going to get one more. A good hook into Pancake.
Right, that's going to be a good kill there. Going to allow them just a little bit more time. You're going to need every second you can get. If you are Ares, you do not want them to end with time. If you do, you are out of winning this match 100%. You see the hog from Lobster.
Yeah, Lobster allowing them to go into this point and then eventually punishes Newport for stepping up too far with that whole hog. Eventually does get Azul at the end of that, so that's going to be a fight win over by Ares.
Right, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. You need to know those angles, you need to know those cooldown cycles from the side of this hog. Super nice play there from the Lobster, getting that Azul. There should be another quick advantage in this fight.
Yeah, it's going to be also the second time in a row that Baja kind of fell to that trap. You know, they didn't see the Reaper there. Hog hooks, I believe it's Bert. No, Azul over into it, and then eventually does get burnt down by Burks here. You see the hog hook going into it. However, Azul answers back, not with one kill, but two onto the hog and onto the Kiriko. So right now, Baja Blast opening up this map for them. Do have 4 ultimates in the bank, looking for any more kills. Reverts does go down, so they're going to be the last to spawn out here.
Right, this is a super dangerous position. You don't really have anything to respond to almost anything from the side of Baja Blast here. You've got the window, but that's not really what you want to respond to a Juno ult.
Yeah, Juno ult thrown out, so the Death Blossom, however, does not get the targets they're looking for. Here comes the Artillery Storm Strike, does not get it. Grab a good for 2, does get Kyle, does get Lobster, however, right now, picks going in favor of Ares. Griffin coming alive. The Baptiste also getting it. There's 38 seconds left for Baja Blast, and they've used basically their entire bank. It's going to be Verts with a Death Blossom and Onyx with a Kitsune Rush.
What an absolutely massive fight win for the side of Ares. I don't know. There were so many different things that could have gotten right there for Baja, and just didn't quite happen to find those chances.
Yeah, here comes the Death Blossom. A beautiful Immortality Field allows Solar Air to go down here. However, Azul eventually does find it. The block coming in from Newports. They're holding strong. A beautiful anti-nade goes on to Lobster here. Can they get the burn? The Suzu already good enough. However, a whole hog coming out for Lobster. Needs that carry. The Reaper going to be a nuisance. Not going to allow them to touch here. Another anti-nade goes wide. Griffin eventually does find Zul, and that's all she wrote. Ares holds strong here as Baja failed to get into third.
What an incredibly close game there. Baja coming up so close and just not quite finding the answer right at the end when they needed it most. They had everything set up for them, just didn't quite get the value they needed. The Bastion cycle just coming up really big there from the side of Griffin. Super nice job there from Ares. Going to put them up 2-0 in the series.
Yeah, but no one else can put you up. Joining the Discord here on Annihilation Overwatch allows you to participate in future events that we do here. Of course, we're running into the playoffs here, and we're also going to be running into the next map, so we'll catch you back then.
Welcome back, Annihilation Nation. We are on match point for Odyssey Ares, losers round 1 of Tier 4. We are on Colosseo. Score is currently 2-0. Alex, bring us those delectable bands.
Yeah, I would love to do that. On the side of Ares, we're going to see the Kiriko banned. And on the side of Baja Esports, we're going to see the Reaper get banned out here.
All right, what do you make of these initially?
It's interesting to see the Kiriko ban. I don't think either team. I mean, like both Kirikos are strong. Don't get me wrong. Kiriko's a strong character, but now looking at the compositions here, we do see Ares wanting to run that queen, so it's making a lot more sense now, you know. And then on the side of Baja Esports, banning out that Reaper, maybe you're just not comfortable with it, you know.
Right. Interestingly, also ruling out on Lucio Mercy with the Soldier, likely for the pocket. Makes you wonder a bit how we're going to get sustained for some of those other heroes here with just the Lucio healing.
But talking about which, they go in for Azul and do get traded in. The Lucio gone on the side of Ares Esports here. And yeah, we're going to see this health bar situation dwindle as Burks does go down. Newport's on that hazard, does find it. Pancake on the opposite side gets traded out. So it's going to be the Mercy trying to hold the Queen's hand for as long as possible. The Soldier 76 is just going to be on this spot as Ares is going to start taking it away.
Right, good opening job there from Lobster. Able to get the pick, I should say, onto Pancake. Able to get the team to back off, just reset. That's going to be a quick pick onto Kyle and Griffin in order to respond.
Yeah, this is going to be something we're going to pay attention to. Baja Esports can really run down this Mercy Soldier 76 composition. You know, you have the hazard to wall it off. You have the speed of both the Lucio and the Genji. And talking of which, Lobster going to get staggered quite substantially here as Dino's going to be on the bot here for Baja Esports. They're going to get this forward progress.
Right, that's going to be a lot of progress there. Queen not going to be the complete fastest tank to get back. So we're going to take a little bit here, especially with our Lucio getting chased down. Might get staggered even further. And that is going to be the case. Now we're still down one as they're coming up under the bridge.
Ooh, a beautiful trap on the verts here. That was a great placement by Dino here. Azul following up quite nicely. Does get two with that Genji. And if I was Odyssey here, I would start talking about changing this back line.
Right, and it looks like we are making those spots over to on a bridge. Good old classic on a bridge. Interesting played into a queen composition. A little bit interesting. Usually you see that with more dive compositions, like for example.
Yeah, the Rampage does come out, however, does get forward here, so it's time for Ares to execute, and they do find two. They do find the backline of Baja Esports. However, Baja Esports already getting into checkpoint here. Dino getting verts on the way out, so an opening could have been here for it, and it looks like Baja Esports just gonna back out after getting checkpoint.
I think that's going to be the big thing between these teams right now. Baja are so quick to escape, and there's not really much you can do to follow if you're Lobster. So you just kind of have to accept that you've gotten what you can get.
Yeah, absolutely, but let's see if this tire can get anything. Does not, but a lot of health pools down quite low. Lobster in danger here. Azul eventually finding the break on the side of Ares. Not before the health bars here. Here comes the Soldier 76 Tag Visor. Let's see what the worst Sierra cooldown can do. Reverse finding Dino here. Health bar is quite low. Azul does have that blade in ready. Pancake, however, not going to do anything except go back to spawn. Azul does find Griffin here. And Onyx eventually reverts. Here comes the rain. It's good for one. Does find Lobster. The blade is out. Looking for that back line. However, Newports kills Kyle. An interesting orbital here onto the side of Baja just to burn down Lobster, who did get that nano. So I'm going to say this. Those are some interesting ults there at the end.
Alright, they were a little bit interesting. The blade did manage to find the Ana, which is a good stagger kill, but other than that, not quite able to find both supports there. We find the break there a little bit late.
Yeah, Pancake sleeping on the job here, however, not before Verts goes back to spawn. Lobster gonna try to press there in luck. The Rampage, good for only one onto Pancake. However, Kyle eventually cleared out, as well as Pancake. So right now is a 3-on-3 in favor of Baja, as their tank is still alive. However, the respawners are close by. You see a horse switch opts for Lobster here. However, Baja Esports making a lot of good progress here. 100 and looks like 18 meters before it is stopped here. The brig on the side of Ares does have their rally here. That's the only one coming up on ultimate. Dino, of course, 96% towards Tire. Could rip this here soon, but the damage is good on the Lobster via that Junkrat. Health bar is looking quite shoddy here on the side of Ares. The rally does come out, but not before Reverts does go down. And Newport's back. The brig away. The bot very close to it. Here comes the Tire. Newport still find the brig either here. The Tire still looking for targets. A lot of damage goes onto the ball. Rain is good for it, and it looks like Baja Esports gonna push it in. Ares gonna fall on Coliseo.
What a surprisingly dominant round to respond from Baja. It seemed like Ares just couldn't find their footing. They had a lot of different contrasting ideas with what they wanted to do. They're running a very dive front line with the Tracer and the Soldier, but at the same time running that Queen, running the Ana Brig. It just didn't quite fit what they were going for. There was a lot of splits happening, a lot of people getting picked, super staggered gameplay. So maybe they were just quite not sure what to do into that comp, had a lot of different differentiating ideas. So definitely need to just find some structure there. But a really solid job there from Baja, staggering them out, getting all of those picks right when they needed them, not getting traded is the biggest thing I saw. There was so many times when they almost got picked. I saw Pancake get put to sleep, and Azul coming in to help him out, make sure he doesn't get traded. So really solid job there from Baja Blast.
And if you're having a blast with this broadcast, please do drop a follow or a Twitch sub here. Keeps the lights on for Annihilation Nation and allows us to continue running these tournaments as well as we do. That being said, we'll catch you on the next map as Baja looks to keep their series alive.
Welcome back, Annihilation Nation. We are back, still on match point for Ares. However, a dominant third match from the side of Baja Blast. Maybe a shift in the momentum, exactly what they needed to see. We are back here on Rialto, which is Ares' pick. Baja Blast going first. Can you hit us with those bans, Alex?
I can do you one better and also hit you with some switches. But yeah, like we said, the bans right now, Ares going to be banning out the Genji. We saw a dominant performance by Azul on that last map. And we see the Ana ban over by Baja. Now, talking about the player switch pilot that, we're going to see Lobster getting switched out for Dixie here. So that's going to be a tank swap for Ares.
I think that may make some sense, right? Lobster just maybe not quite having the same idea as the rest of the team was on that last map. Definitely playing a different style than the rest of his team was. So we see a very different style here. We see a Ram poke comp with double hit scan with the Alari versus a Hazard comp with Dino on his Junkrat.
Yeah, we've seen Dino on their Junkrat before, and we've also seen Newports onto this Hazard. Hazard kind of strong right now. Seeing a lot of playtime here. Of course, we don't have any reference to go on via the pro scene, but has been a bit stronger. Dino does take out the pylon here for the Alari, so healing's going to be a bit short for just this time. And it looks like the side of Baja going to push up to this high ground. Ares, however, holding down this cart with the Ramacha. Ares, Azul, and Dino here trying to take this high ground and do eventually find Kyle lacking on it. That high ground now open up. You would like to see a Verts here, but do they know Dino's here? Verts taking a lot of damage via the Junkrat. However, Griffin's going to be the one to go down, and the rest of Ares follow suit as Baja looking quite comfortable here as they're going to try to shut into second point.
Right, super solid play there from the side of Baja. This first point, that choke, right after the first building is so hard to get through. You have to take that wide angle. You have to clear this high ground, and they definitely did exactly what they needed to get that point pretty convincingly. We still have this one fight left.
Dino coming crazy though, gets Verts. Kyle also falling off the map, and that's going to end the touch for the side of Ares right now. Baja, have they got the wind in their sail as Dino comes alive with more picks and has the tire already?
Right, we see a lot of crazy changes. It's like it's a completely different team from the side of Baja. They know everywhere they need to be. They're completely coordinated. It's a complete switch up from the first couple maps.
Yeah, complete switch up. And talking of which, let's look at these alt banks, Pello. There's nothing coming up for Ares.
No, these fights have been so quick from the side of Baja. Their engages are so fast, finding those picks immediately, especially on the back line, that we're not really close to anything. Meanwhile, we've already got the kicks in there, we've got the tire, we were so close to having that beat as well.
Yeah, tire comes out, does not find a target. Dixie, however, does find Dino there, popping that. Health bars right now looking kind of scary if you're the side of Baja, and it looks like Ares with that one pick and a bunch of damage does find their footing here on second. However, there's still 4 minutes to attack this point.
100%. That first point going so smoothly is going to pay dividends. Now we have 4 ults in the bank. We need to go before we can get kind of outmatched in resources.
Yeah, here comes the rain looking for that Emery, and that Kiriko doesn't. The living weapon out for Griffin does find Azul. However, Oxy shuts the living weapon with a kunai to the head. Azul gonna use that revive here. However, the LRR finding Newports here and finding a beautiful Sunstrike on to 2 players. However, lovely cleanse by Onyx here. Pancake does go down, so this looks like a fight win over by Ares. As the cage comes in, Diva swap out. Kitsune Rush also thrown in by Onyx right now, trying to stay alive. Azul finds Griffin here. However, Azul, 1 HP in a dream. A point almost getting C9. The bomb shuts that down and shuts Azul down before anything can happen. Scratch that. Boss being a 6-man player here finds Onyx here. Revert's gonna find Pancake, and now the fight is shut down for Baja.
And And that's going to be a nasty stagger onto Newports as well. Classic diva moment there. So you're going to lose just a little bit more time. But we see the Onron and the Junkrat looking to make a play here.
Yeah, looking to make a play, looking to bring that attention. You see Azul in the background, they've already scouted them out. Probably going for that cheeky play, as since the payload is just so close to their... does get found out. Griffin shuts that down. Pancake, however, does find Kyle. Griffin, again, coming up on the kill feed, finds Dino, the Junkrat here. And so, right now, damage falling short on the side of Ares. Diva, D-Mech for Newports here. As it looks like, once again, Baja Blast not having quite a blast.
Right, they had a really solid couple fights, but they're not quite taking those angles like they were previously. It's a little bit harder on the second point, and they're a little bit uncoordinated. Azul going in before the rest of the team was able to take the attention to the front lines, so they were just able to turn and break down Azul after that dance. Really gotta look for that timing here. We see a crucial pick onto Daedalus from Dino.
Yeah, with that pick, you're not going to have the sun. The respawn, however, quite close on the side of Ares, so you can see a comeback if this fight goes on too long. Talking about which, a lot of health bars on the side of Baja, looking quite dangerously low. The tire comes out. Looks like a scout has found the tire and where it's coming from. Tire over the top. We're going to pay attention. Does get Griff and does get them low enough for Newports to shake it up. Here comes the Kitsune Rush from both teams here. Looking to burn it down. Azul looking at Pancake. Does get the beat out. So right now, Ajax counter at 0. Both teams still scrappy. Both teams still fighting here. Here comes the D-Mech and the bomb comes out. Azul and Pancake, however, coming alive for their team, finding the crucial picks to push it into third. Dino going down, however, Azul and Newport's going to clean up the rest of the team fight as Baja Esports are now on their way to third.
Right, they had to spend a lot to get into there. They're still in an uncomfortable position with their ult bank that's just so behind. Both DPS and Tankle ready for Ares. They're definitely going to lose a lot of time here. They will not get another fight win, honestly.
Yeah, this is going to be a crucial fight. How many resources can you draw out of Ares for Baja Esports? Here comes the bot, here comes the cage. So that's already 2 you found, and right now you're off in players as Azul gets bursts here. However, Pancake decides not to make that the case. Kyle does find it, and Kyle actually coming alive in this kill feed. Kiriko going crazy here, finds 2. Dixie gets Newports and off out of the mech. Kyle actually finding 3 in this fight, coming alive for their team. Like Kiriko on the side of Ares, looking strong.
Right, that's a crucial fight there. You really needed to get those ults out. You got 2 of them out for free. Now you have the opportunity. You could absolutely get back into this. You have the online ult coming up very soon.
Yeah, you have the living weapon here. You have the Diva to shut that down, but that's going to be your only real resource to do it, as you do not have the support ultimate that you want. Living weapon right now, uncontested, firing for free. However, is this kite good enough for Baja Esports? And it looks like that's the case with Dino finding the Mizuki here on the side of Ares. Onron going deep, trying to find Kyle, trying to get that revenge for the last death. Does get the health pack, forces the Suzu out. That's gonna give the opening for Azul to go in with the Onron ult. Does get the burn onto Verts, who does make that switch over to the Junkrat here, trying to get the better of Dino. So right now, Baja try to push this into third. The respawners coming back. They're gonna switch over to the Zarya. Dixie trying to counter that Newport's hit. However, the Kitsune rushes out. Dino gonna throw the tire out. The tire shut down. Beat good for 3 on the side of Baja Esports. Newport does find it. However, Verts finds Dino. The bomb thrown up in the sky, trying to get it. They do get it. Dixie finds their way back to spawn via Newport. It is 2 players left to the side of Odyssey. Pancake binding it, but not before the Sanctuary is popped. Newport finds Verts. It is just the Tracer left. Kyle trying to get their last swing. The Tracer of Griffin holding on for their dear life, trying to keep the team in the bubble. Is good for a little while, allows Dixie to not touch. And throwing it to overtime, Ares forces Baja, but Baja gets it at the end.
Right, a couple crucial fights for Baja at the end. A little bit of a misplay there from Ares. Just using that Emerald a little too early. not quite waiting until there was an actual engagement, right? No diva boosters were used, no on-run shift, so they were just able to kite away, wait until it was over, and then push back in with everything they had, able to get those picks that they needed, especially Dino getting a really solid pick onto the Mizuki, who was trying to capitalize on that Emerald, on the space that it gave, just not quite able to find it. So really solid job there from the side of Baja.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That those alts that you got out in that second to last fight, probably one of the most crucial alt fights you've seen in this series. You know, that really opened the door for Baja to come in, build those ultimates during that last fight, and eventually push the payload in here. But let's talk about these switches coming over from Ares, Ares and Baja, as we see two tanks we haven't seen throughout this entire series.
Right, Sigma finally into play. Sigma's been pretty strong this entire season. Really just able to brawl pretty well, honestly, with the Mizuki chain. Able to really just cause an issue for tanks on the front line. Able to really just control space super well. Even after the nerfs from the mid-season patch, still super strong, especially on maps like this where there's a lot more long-range angles.
Yeah, speaking of long-range angles, we do see reverts onto this Widow. Just going to take a few quick shots before eventually swapping over to the Pharah. We still do have the Freya on the side of Griffin here. That's going to be a lot of pressure, but Dino going to stick their head out trying to get some cheeky kills via this frag launcher here. However, Azul does force out the immortality on the Baptiste. You got to choose through 2 immortalities if you're Baja to really use your ultimates here. And talking about which, a skill shot, beautiful tracking beacon over from Azul does find the Baptiste and eventually does burn them down. So without a Baptiste, you still have the Kiriko, which is still a substantial amount of healing, but split resources here for a Kiriko makes it a bit harder. You're going to heal up the Pharah over here via reverts. So right now, Baja standing quite strong.
Right, 100%. I think the big thing here, we're not really finding the Vendors like Baja had on their attack. They're just able to maintain through the Sigma shield. That shield is so useful for them, but a quick pick onto Dino gets traded out.
Yeah, but a support trade out for a DPS, you know, if you're the side of Baja, you take that every day. Who cares if your Junkrat's dead when you get a support, but losing a tank, Kyle finding Newports here, that's going to actually put a hamper in your defense unless your DPS can find a cheeky pick. Speaking of which, you do see a cheeky pick. Pancake eventually, you know, not getting the kill feed credit for it, but does find reverts here.
Right, unfortunately, this is going to get them taken out by Daedalus as well. That's a bit of a late fight, but Pancake's going to be able to get back faster than Reverse. You're going to have a very slight advantage. You end up losing Kyle's choosing here with the response from Azul.
Yeah, Azul throwing out the drone here, throwing out over to the Kitsune. Allow denies it, and a later Kitsune rush. However, Flux does hit. A beautiful Suzu prevents the damage from the Flux going out. However, Dino is going to be the first one to get picked in the second team fight here on it. The window, good, a lot of damage here. Pancake throws the beat out, good for 4. Here comes the Flux. Does not hit its mark here. Justice raining from above finds the back line of Baja here as Vorts is going to clean it up. 3 kills and going to allow Odyssey to start marching.
Right, that was a really solid play there from Reverse, taking that opportunity. Everybody was so focused on the window, they did not see that he was coming around from behind. Able to just find that big pick that they needed in order to get through there.
Yeah, you're correct, Headset. We see Dino going over to this Echo here, no longer going to be on that Junkrat. A bit more play, a counterplay, especially against that Pharah that's been causing them a bit of a headache, you know. Speaking of which, we have a shield battle going on. Newport's v Dixie here for the high ground. Who can control this allows angles to get it. We do see the Echo v the Pharah right now. Dino doing a good chart, making sure that stays in check. However, Oxy does find the opposite end. Kyle on that Kiriko duel. Dino eventually burning down Dixie with that focusing beam and reverse. It looks like the rest of Odyssey going for that reset.
I love the Echo Swap here. It's going to put a lot of pressure onto the opposing DPS line, who are both flyers. We see actually Revert swap off of the it also puts a lot of pressure onto Dixie, not quite able to use that shift as he wants to anymore with the beam. So definitely gonna have to play that a little differently as well. Just does so much for their comp here.
Speaking of which, a beautiful rock finds Newport while he had hands and while he was low. Eventually does get topped off. Another Suzu carry by the side of Oxley here. Flux goes out, hits nothing but the wind here. The Kitsune rushes out, however the drone also thrown out. Dixie gonna take a lot of damage, however Reverse is gonna find Dino before it. Flux this time good on the opposite end for 2 here. Azul find Reverse, Newport finds Griffin, so no more DPS on the side of Odyssey here as the Baptiste is taking out Newport's finds Kyle. Azul cleaning up the rest. Baja having a solid defense here on second.
Right, well, if we look at the ult economy coming up here, definitely in the favor of Baja, right? Almost having that copy, almost having that beat, gonna be stronger than Window and Bola shot from the opposing team. However, it's definitely not nothing, especially with the spot over to Zarya. Newport's gonna have to play this a lot more carefully. Definitely conserve his shield more.
A lot more carefully, but we also got to talk about the ults coming up. You have the Bolo here, you have the Window. No, not too strong individual ults, but put together, especially with team play, is great. Griffin does find Dino, so the copy will not be coming out in this fight. There is a minute left on the second point for Odyssey area. Bolo shot out, does not get anything caught in that. However, Pancake, a very dangerous situation. Beats good for 4 here. They're going to try to put the pressure out. The Window is on the side of Odyssey Ares, trying to find any use for it, and does get Azul here. The copy still here, so we're gonna have a Kiriko copy on the field. Suzu out. Bolo. Bob is now thrown out into the back line of Baja Esports. The shield is just gonna cut it off, and they're gonna go forward with the copies. Kitsune rush here, trying to find the kill. Reverts, eats a rock and heads back to spawn, but not before pick. Pancake also finding their way back to spawn here. Fight still scrappy. Dino eventually finding the Baptiste on the side of Odyssey here. The Flux good for 1. Slam comes down. The damage is good. Newports does get Griffin. There are 15 seconds left in this map. Odyssey looking to try to shut it out, but not before Oxy shuts down Reverts with a beautiful 1-2 headshot. The main Kitsune rush comes out. Dixie looking to step up forward here. Azul coming alive with 2 picks. And it looks like Baja is going to take us to a map 5.
Super solid job there from Baja. Really nice job playing with the shield, playing with the timing, waiting for those resources to be out before truly going in, finding those crucial moments. Really solid play. And the longer that fight went on, the better it was going to go for Baja. The longer it goes, the more resources you get to draw out before you can really make that move. The longer you can just sit there, poke out the Zarya, poke out the Freya. Just really solid job there.
Yeah, really solid job indeed by Ares. You saw Azul coming alive, getting those hit scan picks on the Sierra, which I didn't think was going to be a great pick, but with that tracking shot was quite lovely. Talking about tracking, you know how you can follow us via the Twitch follow button, and the subscribe allows you to keep up to date with all the matches coming out. And since we're in the playoffs, we got some damn good matches. That being said, we're heading into map 5. Gonna find out the maps after this.
Welcome back, Annihilation Nation. We are here, map 5. The side with momentum gonna be Baja Blast Esports, winning the last 2 maps pretty confidently, might I add. So it's on Ares in order to make this final push, really break this streak that's starting to happen, and win this map. Alex, tell us what we got in terms of bans.
Yeah, these bans are going to be crucial for this map. On the side of Ares, they're going to be banning out Dino's Junkrat here. And on the side of Baja Blast, we're going to see the removal of Zarya. But also, before we're talking about that, we do have a switch coming over. Dixie out, Lobster in.
2, 1.
Right, we see some pretty interesting comps here. We see Newport's over on the hazard. We see double flex with that, with the Mei, with the Genji. Definitely going to look to wall somebody off and just absolutely obliterate them. And we see a pretty interesting toss comp from the side of Ares.
Yeah, we see a very interesting Hog composition. We've seen Hog before in this pool, so we know that it is good play. However, Azul coming alive here, finding the pick onto the Lucio on the side of Ares here. Hook, good, not good enough. Does find it. Newports does have the kill onto Reverts, and another wall comes out. So, I gotta say this, if you're the side of Ares, how do you navigate not against not one wall, but 2 walls coming out?
Right, this is really tough if you're Lobster. There's just so much you have to deal with. You're probably getting walled off while Genji's going to be running at your back line, and you can't really respond, because even if you try to break the wall, go after it, the second wall's going to show up in its place. So
yeah, we saw that.
Opportunity.
Yeah, we saw that in the beginning of this team fight. One wall goes in, the next wall goes out. Genji on the side, holding it. However, Lobster does find it, does enough with these walls, finds Dino here, shuts it down. However, 51% on the board for Baja Esports right now. Looks like Ares is going to start taking it strong. Griffin here. Rain, good for 2. Gets the Lucio. However, Lobster does find another pick. Azul finding more here. Going to be the last to survive on their team, as the rest are going to go look to get a retouch. So it's going to be Baja Blast 80% to Odyssey's 5.
Right, they did use the Hazardal and lose that fight, unfortunately, but still great hold. 80% is nothing to sneeze at, especially for just one ult used. Especially when you're up about 30% in the beat exchange. Definitely at the advantage.
Yeah, here comes the whole hunt. Here comes the Kitsune Rush. Here comes the OC. So a lot dumps into that, and they're hunting Azul down. 3 players looking at them. Reverts eventually does find it. Lobster finding Pancake, who did use this feat on the start of that. Lizard out. It's good. Dino finds 2. However, Lobster finds another pick on the Newports here. Oxy, low on health. However, it's going to be 99%. Kyle does eventually find Onyx here. It's going to be Dino on point, found out, and that's going to be all she wrote on that fight. As Baja is going to take another regroup.
Right, that was a massive ult dump from both teams, but crucially, we still have the Blade and the Xion ult, as well as Dato's speed. That's going to be the key here, is how quickly we can build that, and if we can build that before we engage with this Blade.
Yeah, it's going to be crucial for Azul to either go fast here with this Blade before that beat can be built, or Griffin to come alive with that spree. You see the first touch come over here on the side of Baja onto points. Our Lobster finds the pick onto Onyx here. Blade is out, Spree's out. Beat good for 4, preventing that Blade from getting any more damage. It's 99 for both teams. However, it's Ares who's coming alive here with more players. Griffin finding 3 here to shut the first point down, and it's going to be Ares taking point 1 here.
Right, crucially, like we were talking about, just not playing quite fast enough to go before that beat was prepared. They had a small window of opportunity, but just not quite able to get it. We see a swap from Azul over to the Sierra.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That's a lot of front pressure on to Lobster, who has been getting away with some devious flanks here. Talking of which, here comes the rain. Good for 2 here. It does get the hook on the Pancake. However, the opposite side is true. Eventually trades out Lucio for Lucio. Griffin finds Newports. However, Azul finds Griffin. So another fight, first fight win for Baja. They're going to capture this point first.
Crucially, also using the whole hog there right at the end before getting picked, so that's not what you want to see here. If you are Ares, that makes this next fight a little bit awkward. You're going to be down the ult. But you do have the Kitsune coming up, so that could be your remaining win condition here.
Yeah, you do have the Kitsune coming up, but we also have a tank swap. Newport's saying no more on that Hazard. Gonna go onto that Malga. Plays a bit better into the Hog, really punish it for existing. The Suzu force on the side of Kyle throws that Kitsune rush out. They're gonna look to pressure out Newports, who eventually does get burnt down. Dino already in ice block form. Pancakes does get the better, however, the trades right now in favor of Ares as they clean up the rest of Baja Blast.
Right, really solid fight there. You see Lobster playing around the cooldowns of his problem perfectly. Going on to Malga as soon as he doesn't have his E. Going on to May as soon as she doesn't have her block. That's exactly what you want to see here if you're looking for this fight win as Hog into Malga.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing ults right now. It's going to be on Onyx, who has that Kitsune rush. Pancake, however, getting hooked early in that fight. Does get burnt down. The Kitsune rush on the high ground here, so not going to be able to play around it. Revert's going to have that OC. Looking to put the damage on. Azul eventually finds Lobster. Revert's, however, trading out the tanks. Newport's down on the OC. Good for the damage. However, Onyx puts Reverts down before any more damage. Azul on to Griffin and Dino, and the rest are going to clean up. Not before Kyle says go back to spawn Pancakes. So 87% for the side of Ares, 52 for Baja.
Good to see you.
Really solid points from both teams. Crucially, I think the biggest thing coming up here is going to be that whole hog. You want to kind of try and save it for the Malga cage if you're Ares. Other than that, you want to try and find some sort of angle, maybe try to get Xion ult.
Yeah, whole hog comes out. Yeah, whole hog comes out. Beat on both sides coming out. Pancakes a bit later, so better beat here. Death Blossom also comes out, does not find anything. Lobster finding Newport with the rest of that whole hog, and does get the point put out. The Spree coming here, trying to burn down just one character. However, it's going to be Ares who captures the point. There was not enough bodies for Baja.
This Malga comp not quite working out the way that they're expecting it to so far. Not quite able to find the kill onto Lobster that they're probably looking for with all of this frontline pressure, with the Reaper, with the Malga. Gonna have to try and just play a little bit more to find those trades somewhere else. Maybe just beat them in the rotations.
Yeah, you do have the ultimate coming out too, so being a bit more conservative with the ult, trying to get this keynote, specifically trying to get the value onto this Sojourn ult. However, Griffin also finding Azul before the fight even really began. The point You see Newport's stepping forward, trying to get it. However, the rest of Baja is going to start backing up here. The damage too great. The poke too enormous here. It's going to force them off and allow Ares to step forward. The hook on the lobster is good. Revert's finding two here. The OC eventually is popped on the side of Dino. Does get that trade onto it. The hook comes out, trying to find any more. Dino trying to get this team back into this. Does not hit another shot, however, finding one pick. Oh, the hook on Azul. Lobster coming alive on this hog. The hooks are phenomenal.
Right, if you are fine, if you want to try and make a decision, you want to try and force those angles, force two problems at the same time, just make the hog try to misplay here. You don't really have another option. You're running out of time. You need, this is last fight territory here, and you're down in ultimates. You're gonna have to try and find some sort of mistake from the side of Ares.
Yeah, down in ultimates and down in time. There's only 80% on the board right now, so someone has to be this touch. Newport's on that Doomfist. Looks like they're stepping up forward. 90% and counting on to this point. Does not get the touch just yet. Someone has to touch this point. No one has done it just yet, and they don't! Baja forget to touch the point, and with the wind in their sails, snagged by Odyssey, who go on to win Atlas.
Very solid play for the last two maps, and then a sudden rip in the sails of that momentum suddenly occurs. Not quite able to find what they were looking for, and just not quite able to get it, unfortunately.
Yeah,
However, very solid showing from both teams in this series.
Very solid showing indeed from both teams. We got to congratulate them. That means Ares moving on forward. But that's going to be all for us tonight. Do remember to drop a follow and a sub for our Twitch channel. And if you do want to join us in future tournaments, do head join the Discord link. Also, Annihilation does have an esports merch shop. So I don't know if that gets plugged, but do plug it. It's Annihilation Esports .printify.me. That being said, my name's Alex. That's been Pello. Space on the broadcast. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.